Before he was a king, before the songs, before the stories echoed through generations, he was just a boy with a slingshot, a boy with a song in his heart and calluses on his hands, a boy named David. This isn't just a tale about a giant and a stone. This is the long, winding, emotional story of a forgotten son, a hunted warrior, a flawed man, a faithful heart who never stopped facing giants. David was the youngest of 8, not the strongest, not the chosen one, not even worth mentioning when greatness came calling. His older brothers trained for war. They were soldiers, warriors, future leaders. David, he was left to tend sheep. But what the world called insignificant, God saw as preparation. In those quiet hills, with only the sheep and sky to hear him, David learned to listen. He watched, he waited, he wrote songs, he fought off lions and bears, not for glory, but because someone had to protect the flock. These weren't years of nothingness. They were the foundation, because one day, the world would watch him run toward a monster, but first, he had to conquer obscurity. When the prophet Samuel arrived at David's home, he was on a divine mission. Find the next king of Israel. Jesse, David's father, brought out 7 strong, proud sons. Each one looked the part. But one by one, Samuel shook his head. "Do you have any others?" he asked. Only then did Jesse remember the youngest. The boy. The shepherd. David. Dusty. Sunburnt, smelling of sheep. And yet, Samuel looked into the boy's eyes and saw it. Courage. Innocence. Purpose. In front of stunned brothers and a confused father, Samuel poured oil on David's head. A silent anointing. A private coronation. A public mystery. The boy didn't become king that day, but heaven had made its choice. The Israelite army faced a threat too large to comprehend. Goliath of Gath, over 9 feet tall, covered in bronze, armed with terror. For 40 days he mocked the armies of God, and no one dared face him. David came, not as a warrior, but as a delivery boy. Bread, cheese. That was his mission. But what he saw changed him. Soldiers trembling, his own brothers retreating, a whole army paralyzed by fear. David asked a question no one dared to speak aloud. Why is no one fighting him? He wasn't arrogant. He was outraged. Not because a man was big, but because people forgot how big God was. With 5 stones and a sling, he walked into the valley. No armor, no sword, just faith. And with a single strike, the giant fell. But the boy's battle was only beginning. David became a hero overnight. The people sang his name in the streets. Saul has slain thousands, but David, tens of thousands. The cheers that lifted David broke something inside Saul. Envy turned to rage. Fear turned to obsession. David, once loved, became a hunted man. The king he served, the king he respected, now wanted him dead. David ran for his life, from city to city, from cave to cave. He lived like a fugitive. He could have fought back. He had followers. He had chances. But David refused to raise his hand against Saul. Even when Saul tried to kill him, David spared the king's life. Twice. Not out of weakness, but out of honor. This was his second giant. Injustice. Sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones you choose not to fight. When Saul fell in battle, David was finally crowned king. The boy who no one believed in now ruled a nation. He united tribes. He brought peace. He danced before God without shame. He was victorious. He was revered. But even kings face giants, and sometimes the giant lives within. In a moment of weakness, David saw something he shouldn't have, and instead of turning away, he took Bathsheba, the wife of another man. When his sin threatened to be exposed, David didn't confess. He covered it. He sent her husband Uriah to die in battle, the giant of lust, the giant of power, the giant of deception. David lost that fight. And when the prophet Nathan confronted him, David didn't hide anymore. He broke. He wept. He wrote, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me." Though he repented, the consequences came. His family fractured. His son Absalom betrayed him. David wept as he fled Jerusalem. Again, a king without a throne, war came. And with it, loss. When Absalom died, David cried out, "My son, my son." The boy who once comforted sheep now sat broken, weeping for the son who turned against him. David grew old. The battles faded. The songs became softer. But one final giant remained: legacy. Would he be remembered for his failures or his faith? For the giant he killed or the one he became? He chose to pass the crown with wisdom. He prepared his son Solomon. He gave instructions to build a temple. He wrote songs that would echo through eternity. He made peace with God. David's life wasn't clean. It wasn't perfect. He faced giants in the field, in the palace, in his heart. He rose. He fell. He rose again. Not because he was strong, but because he never let failure be the final word. His secret? He never stopped running to God. And that made him a giant slayer. When you face your giants, remember David. Not because he was flawless, but because he was faithful. Even in the darkness, he never let go of the light. And ask yourself, what giants are you facing, and who are you becoming because of them?